In approaching the episode titled Cerda 211 from the television series Aida, one quickly realizes that beneath the familiar comedic tone lies a surprisingly layered social portrait of an urban environment where humor becomes a survival mechanism for characters who have endured disappointment for so long that it has become part of their daily rhythm. The episode constructs a world in which chaotic impulses and clashing personalities collide within the cramped walls of the Garcia family apartment, and the narrative uses these collisions to expose uncertainties, insecurities, and long-buried frustrations. Watching Cerda 211 feels like opening a window into a neighborhood that has learned to laugh loudly because the alternative would be collapsing under the weight of its own routine failures. The story of this episode revolves around a bizarre yet symbolically rich conflict that erupts when a series of misunderstandings escalate into a full-blown neighborhood scandal. A seemingly minor issue becomes the seed of confusion that spreads across the household and eventually the entire community. The beauty of the episode lies not in the dramatic stakes, but in the way simple problems grow into a comedy of exaggerated consequences. Every character becomes a fragment of a larger social mosaic, from Aida herself torn between responsibility and resignation, to Luisma who navigates life with a level of innocence that is simultaneously disarming and maddening. The opening scenes capture the tension of an ordinary day that begins to unravel slowly. Aida attempts to manage the chaos of the household as she juggles work, bills, and emotional fatigue. Meanwhile, the neighbors create noise both literally and metaphorically. Cerda 211 becomes a coded reference to a confusing series of complaints that range from the absurd to the ridiculous. Watching these early moments, one notices how the episode skillfully uses visual clutter and overlapping dialogues to create an atmosphere where everyone talks yet no one truly listens. The middle portion deepens the comedic miscommunication into something resembling social commentary. The characters no longer simply misunderstand each other, they begin projecting their unspoken fears into the situation. This is particularly visible in Aida, whose exhaustion manifests in exaggerated reactions. She is convinced that the universe conspires against her, and the episode succeeds in showing how constant stress can distort perception. In contrast, Luisma adopts an almost philosophical carelessness. His error-ridden logic and unpredictable decisions create some of the most memorable comedic beats, yet they also remind the audience of the series' underlying empathy for flawed individuals. Even Mauricio, whose sarcasm often borders on cruelty, becomes a reflection of a man terrified of losing control in a world that makes no room for his ego. A deeply entertaining sequence occurs when the characters attempt to resolve the problem by organizing a neighborhood meeting that spirals into a display of grievances accumulated over years. Instead of addressing the original issue of Cerda 211, they begin blaming each other for unrelated offenses, such as noisy nights, missing food, unpaid debts, and romantic disappointments. It is in this moment that the episode subtly critiques the human tendency to turn small irritations into catastrophes, especially in environments where personal space and emotional bandwidth are scarce. As a viewer, I found this scene reminiscent of real-life moments when minor disagreements suddenly inherit the emotional weight of everything left unsaid. The final act delivers a resolution that is surprisingly heartfelt. Once the truth behind the misunderstanding is revealed, the characters experience a collective embarrassment but also a quiet recognition that their chaotic community is bound together precisely because its members have no choice but to coexist. The resolution does not offer moral superiority, instead it highlights the beauty of imperfection. Aida recognizes her own impatience, Luisma acknowledges his recklessness, and the neighbors admit that their complaints often mask loneliness. The episode ends not with triumphant closure, but with the kind of gentle acceptance that defines the show's enduring charm. From a personal perspective, Cerda 211 reminded me of an old apartment building where I once lived, where any minor sound in the hallway could trigger a chain reaction of speculation and gossip. The way the characters in Aida misinterpreted every clue resembled the residents in that building who crafted elaborate theories about each other based on nothing more than a broken pipe or a misplaced trash bag. Watching this episode felt like revisiting those memories through a comedic lens. What elevates Cerda 211 beyond typical sitcom material is its ability to blend absurdity with emotional truth. The episode never abandons humor yet remains anchored in relatable struggles: financial pressure, emotional fatigue, community conflict, and the universal desire to be heard. Its comedic chaos becomes a metaphor for modern urban life in which communication is incessant yet understanding is rare. This combination of energy, flawed humanity, and social critique makes Cerda 211 one of the most memorable entries in the Aida universe, a portrait of messy relationships held together by shared hardship and reluctant affection.